Hello guys, it's Jonathan. Today I'm going to be doing another Bottleman video. This will be a Bottleman discussion on Raidbrave DX. Specifically talking about its Dragogina magazine upgrade. So in case you don't know, if you have Dragogina DX and take off kind of the ends of the wings, you can make this magazine for specifically Raidbrave DX. It attaches on the back here through these ports, and it does not attach well. That is the first issue with this. That said though, even though this thing doesn't stay on too well, I haven't really had it fall off too often, but the fact that it still can definitely is a bit of a problem. But still, how much does this improve Raidbrave? How much better is it? So, kind of referring back to my tier list really quick, or ranking video, I guess. I said Raidbrave was kind of a consistent power type that wasn't too strong, but I had the vertical shot. It was good enough, right? So how good do I think it is with this thing on there, if I could talk correctly? And I think it's an improvement for sure. I mean, even if it falls off, the worst that's going to happen is it's just going to be back to normal Raidbrave, which obviously you don't want that to happen. And usually this thing does stay on, which I will say is pretty shocking because this thing does not feel like it should stay on at all, just with how loose it is. But no, it manages to at least hold on well enough, I would say, to shoot. I would be a little bit careful shooting. I wouldn't like grab the thing like too forcefully, which I don't think you need to really be doing anyway. But still, just it's kind of like a, I guess, reminder in some ways, just in case. But yeah, it still works fine. It works fine. Just have to be a little bit careful with it, unfortunately. Would be great if it just fit in solidly. That was not a problem, but that's not the case. So obviously, it increases its capacity. So before it just had the one cap capacity, but now you can get a second cap in there comfortably, and then a third cap in there. This happens. This cap could technically fly out. It generally doesn't, kind of like Aqua Sports, but it can. And that's just unfortunate. Again, I don't understand what Takatomi was doing here with both this and the Aqua Sports magazine, where they just don't make them long enough and things can just fly out. This magazine definitely was not made well, in my opinion. Again, this isn't long enough to fit a third cap properly in there. This magazine just doesn't even fit into Raidbrave all that well without just having a chance of falling off. It wasn't well designed, in my opinion. But at the same time, Raidbrave with this magazine I actually think is a really good Bottleman. Even with the problems. I know this is going to be quite a take I'm about to say, but in my ranking video I had kind of a definitive top list. I would say the top 4 were pretty definitive, with 4 being Dragogina DX, and then 5th, which was a little bit more of a loose placement. Obviously there's some kind of in that middle portion where you can maybe change some up if you really wanted to, but that was the list I came up with. But in 5th place, I had, I would say decently behind Dragogina, was Royal Griffin DX. I'm mentioning these because I genuinely think that this thing goes between those. I think it's right behind those top 4. I know that's definitely a take for sure, but hear me out, right? So this thing, you get the vertical shots, and you have a power type that's not crazy strong, but it's still decently powerful, and it's just kind of a consistent power type, You're not getting these crazy shots like you are going to get with like Mario Energy DX or something. That thing's just busted with power. But you're getting consistent power shots that are nice to use. They're not too crazy, but they work. And that's fine. The problem with Raidbrave on its own is that I feel like you would just get more out of other Bottlemen compared to, Raidbrave. I mean, yeah, it has a consistency thing going for it, but that was just not really a good enough niche. But now with a 3 cap capacity, kind of that solid power type, but now with, more than just one capacity, this thing actually becomes somewhat more interesting, and I think is much better now. Power types generally cannot hold magazines. I know there's the whole thing with Red Arrow Sighter, but we haven't gotten to Red Arrow Sighter yet. That'll be my next discussion video, but for now, this is the only power type, at least kind of in a stock form, that can support magazines. And yeah, again, being a solid power type with vertical shots, actually getting capacity out of it, that's, not just 1, you get 3. I honestly think that that makes it a really good Bottleman. I mean, I had things like 10 Satan or Kerpeps decently high up on my list, and to me, this thing just is better than those. I'd rather get 3 good shots than most other, Bottlemen out there. I mean, even Royal Griffin, yeah, you get a triple shot. That's, I mean, you have such a bad reload time, and it's just kind of a weird Bottleman. I think it's still really good, but this to me is just still better than that. Yeah, it's not beating out my top 4, but to me, this thing's actually worth using compared to a lot of other things, and I find that to be interesting. So yeah, Raidbrave DX with this magazine, in my opinion, is that high up. I think that this thing's actually really strong. I actually think maybe this thing I could have made more arguments for had this not been such a loose cap on the top here and had this magazine itself not just been like this, where it just wants to fall off constantly. Had this thing been better made, I probably would have went further with some things and maybe would have argued for even a higher spot, but at the same time, I feel like when it's this jank, I can only argue so much, and I think 5th is definitely a spot that people would, I don't know if they disagree with, but like it's a contentious one for sure. I think Royal Griffin and Aerosider in particular, I would still argue could potentially be better than this thing because of, the problems that this can have, and also Kerpeps and Tan Satan, if you want to argue above them as well, then go for it. But I would still say nothing below those. Like, anything below those 4, this thing, in my opinion, is just better than for sure. But those 4 in particular, I still think it's better than. Again, though, if you use this thing for yourself, I would say you could probably come to a better conclusion to what you think. But for me, just based on what I've done with it, I think that this magazine's actually a massive help and makes Raidbrave kind of a mid Bottleman, and instead of that, it's now actually a pretty solid choice to use. Even just like compared to some of the really, really good Bottlemen, even something like Doc Pepion DX, which I've always said is kind of the best, with its one-handed grip and long magazine. This thing, yeah, it's not that, but I mean, still, you get 3 power shots out of it. That's pretty strong to me. So I've definitely reiterated some of the same things at this point, so I don't really have a whole lot else to say. Other than, yes, I think that this thing actually surprisingly worked way better than I would have anticipated, but at the same time, it wasn't built well enough. It definitely should have been built better. But hey, it works. So I think, I mean, it usually works. That's what matters. I wish it would work better, but it works. So there you go. That's everything. Raid Brave plus the Dragogina magazine is good. So there you go. Again, referring back to the ranking video I did, between 4th and 5th. That's actually a very high ranking, but yeah, no, actually I just think it's that good. So if you have Raidbrave and Dragogina, I'd recommend checking this combo out just to, see what you think, see if I'm overrating the hell out of it, or do you agree that, yeah, no, it's actually a pretty solid Bottleman. So if anyone has done some testings, let me know your opinions on it. These are my opinions on it. Obviously, I don't know what I was getting at there. Anyway, yeah, that's basically all for this video, though. So anyways, thanks for watching, and bye-bye.